Hello, hi, hello, hi, hello, hi, hi. Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin' live on Sundays. We usually are live here. Usually what time? 7 p.m. every Sunday. Today we are starting around noonish because the Super Bowl is on today. I don't know if you guys knew. If you would like to watch the Super Bowl, it starts at 6:30 p.m. and I don't know what it's going to be on. I'm sure it'll be probably streaming on like Peacock, but when it comes to regular cable, I can't remember how that thing works. It's such a relic, right? Right. Now, I always want to add in stuff to each episode to make this more of a show. Like I do want to add the green screen that I've had for so long and I haven't actually used, or actually add like graphics and stuff. I'd like to stream through multiple channels at once, and I found a program to do that. My point of all of this is me just saying the production will get bigger, but for now, I couldn't add in all the fun stuff because I had myself watch way too many things. So we're going to try from the following weeks to keep it to like 3 movies and 3 TV shows. And that's it. Because I don't know how I found time to watch all of these things. It's ridiculous. So, first, we're going to start off with some news that we learned this week involving movies and television shows. One of the biggest stories this week is AMC is now going to be on a tier system. And it's basically like when you go to buy seats, instead of like what time it is and the price fluctuating between matinee or not, movie show times after 4 p.m. are going to actually have more expensive seats than not. So, for instance, let's say you go to a concert and you're buying tickets and you like hover over a seat, and the prices will change depending on where you want to sit. AMC's doing that. I don't think this is going to work. I'm thinking they're thinking like the tier system with streaming services, because with streaming services, you can pay more for no ads and pay less for less ads. Now, for AMC, if you want to sit middle of the theater, you are going to have to pay more money after 4 p.m. And if you want to sit up front, you can pay less than a regular price ticket. If you want to sit a little over to the side, but not up front, it'll be a regular ticket price. I thought this was a good way that like people on a budget could go to the movies. However, they should only roll this shit out if people are going to the movies. But people aren't going to the movies anymore. They're barely going for superhero movies nowadays because Marvel's fucking up shit. And it's just I don't think it's a good idea. If they were very, very popular, like concerts are going to sell out no matter what. They skyrocketed their tickets because people still go to people still go to tacos, people still go to concerts, but people don't go to the movies anymore. So I don't see how this is going to draw people in. Every person I told this to, this tier system about, they were like, it's a bad idea. I fucking hate AMC. This gives me more incentive not to go. I'm still going to go because I think this is also a push to their Stubs A list, where you pay $20 a month to see 3 movies for free each week, no matter what. And this tier system isn't going to affect that, but it does affect me if I want to like bring a date or something, because I always pay for their, if I'm going with anyone to the movies, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to pay for their ticket because they are going to not want to go, because half the time I invite people to movies, they don't want to go anyways. I don't want to spend so much time on this, but I thought Elijah Wood's take was pretty good. The movie theater is and always has been a sacred democratic space for all, and this new initiative by AMC Theaters would essentially penalize people for lower income and reward for higher income. Very well put, Frodo. Next up, Bob Iger, the head again of Walt Disney, has announced a few things. There's going to be 7,000 layoffs across Walt Disney. It's a way to save billions of dollars because they have been declining. I think this is their third like overall restructure within the past 5 years, which is not good. But you know, everything is losing money right now. It's a weird world we live in right now. The other announcements that he made were they are working on a Toy Story 5. I think it's a bad idea. Leave Toy Story alone. Although ever since 4, I no longer care. They are making a Zootopia 2, even though I think they have a Zootopia TV show. I think it's called Zootopia Plus on Apple TV Plus. I'm not that big of a fan of Zootopia. It was a very good film, but they are making a second film. The biggest news, besides the 7,000 layoffs, are Frozen 3. So for all those parents out there that love listening to soundtracks of the Frozen kind, now you're going to get Frozen the 3rd edition. So congratulations. Other news, one thing I wanted to mention about Knock at the Cabin, which is in theaters right now, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. I didn't know it was based off of a book called The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul G. Tremblay. And apparently, the endings are very different between novel and motion picture. I won't tell either of them because I don't want to spoil them in case you want to read the book or watch the movie. Again, this was a movie that I say wait for streaming. You don't have to see it in theaters, but it was a decent movie. If you want more insight into that, watch last week's episode. But Google Knock at the Door, Knock at the Cabin ending of film and novel. Other big news, Justin Roiland, man. So this has been talked about for a few weeks, but a couple days ago, there's a more in-depth Hollywood Reporter story about Justin Roiland's behavior, specifically with the production staff. And it's like, there are some horror stories, but they definitely made a stance. And by they, I mean Rick and Morty and Adult Swim. Their teams made a stance against him. They are separating themselves from him as much as possible. He is not coming back. So that's something to know about. I don't want to get into details because honestly, it's really hard to read and it makes you cringe. But it's a Hollywood Reporter story about why Justin Roiland is no longer part of Rick and Morty, Koala Man, and Solar Opposites. I still recommend. I didn't watch Koala Man, but Rick and Morty is one of the best shows of all time. And Solar Opposites is very, very entertaining as well. Both you can watch on Hulu, but newer episodes will be coming out much later. Anyways, next story. Discovery Plus and what's the other one? Oh, Discovery Plus and HBO Max were going to be combining into one streaming service, which I wasn't a fan of because I feel like that would cost more money. They're no longer doing that. So if you heard about that, that's not going to be a thing. Discovery Plus will remain by itself. Netflix has begun launching the new anti-password sharing measures in Canada, Portugal, Spain, and New Zealand. Basically, it's a way for them to crack down on password sharing. So from now on, when it comes to America before the end of March, which they might backtrack this. I don't know if they're still going to do it. So let's say your mom pays for an account. Just, an example. My mom pays for my Netflix account. And she gave me a profile. Hey, I got like 6 streaming services that I pay for. Netflix. So now, like, if I want to be on her Netflix, it hasn't happened yet. It's happening later. It's going to be $3 or $4 per sub account as opposed to one account, which is like $20 a month. So I think it's not the worst idea in the world, but people are obviously outraged. People are really pissed. They're losing money, man. Everyone's losing money. I see why. One of my favorite shows, Avenue 5, got canceled. I still highly recommend to watch the first 2 seasons on HBO Max. They are very, very funny. And also we found out that Spartacus, great show. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it all on Stars. They're reviving it. So it's going to be a continuation off of the story we had watched when it came out. And I'm not a big fan of this because if you know how Spartacus ends, why keep going? But there is a lot of history that could be told right after the Spartacus era. So, that's something that you can watch. I don't think I will. I'm not a big history buff, but those shows are really dope. They were on Stars. You can watch them too. I highly recommend them. Really, really good show. And the final piece of news is Showtime or Paramount Plus. I don't know who announced this, but Dexter is going to have 3 different spinoffs. One is going to be a continuation of New Blood, which is basically their season of fixing, the series finale of Dexter, which is very, very good. I don't know about this continuation. I'm not that interested, but who knows? It could be good. It did seem like it would make sense for them to make a continuation off of it, or at least give it a shot. The other show that they're going to make is the Trinity Killer origin story. Trinity Killer was played by John Lithgow in season 3 or 4. I can't remember, but it's going to be an origin story about him. Someone said, as long as John Lithgow is playing the character, like, dude, he's super old. He's not going to play a younger version of himself. But then again, technology, you don't know. Maybe they'll try it. They're also doing a Dexter origin story. So like when he was, I'm guessing from his teenage years. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but franchise, especially with Paramount Plus. And Showtime is Paramount Plus is eating Showtime pretty soon, to where you pay for a Paramount Plus subscription and you then get to watch Showtime shows for free. So that was a piece of news that's happening. Let us move on Okay. We're talking about Somebody I Used to Know, which is on Amazon Prime. Basically, the biggest movie that I watched this weekend. I didn't go out and see Magic Mike's Last Dance because I'm not very interested in it. I was interested in Somebody I Used to Know. It is about on a trip to her hometown, workaholic Allie reminisces with her ex Sean, Jay Ellis, and starts to question everything about the person she's become. Things only get more confusing when she meets Cassidy, played by Kiersey Clemens. Sorry if I fucked up your name, who reminds her of the person she used to be. This movie was pretty funny. It has Danny Pudi in it as well, so you get to have Annie and Abed from Community reunite in this film. It was directed by Dave Franco, who is Allison Brie's husband in real life, and she co-wrote the script with Dave Franco. So it's nice to see them work on a project together. They work together sometimes, but not like when it comes to completely behind the camera. It was entertaining. The first half was better than the second half. It did a lot. There's a lot of weird character choices in it. But there was cool character plotting to where you're basically maybe having a midlife crisis or whatnot. But I like, and maybe that's not the right vibe that it's trying to give off, but it's basically like you don't know what you're doing with your life when you left your hometown. So you decide to go home to revisit it. And you think, man, maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I have an opportunity to fix everything I used to have, but at what cost? And it's cool in that aspect. Do I recommend watching it? Sure, watch it. Just remember that I said that some character choices and everything were kind of different. There was again, just like everything he is, Jay Ellis, who I know from the show Insecure, he has a good storyline in Insecure that they don't visit enough. He's a bit player in Top Gun Maverick, who they do not visit enough. Granted, his whole acting style is him holding his ring finger and being like this, like, well, how's your day? Don't get me wrong, I love Jay Ellis. He's a cool dude. Really, really cool dude. But like I figured out his acting style. He was underused in this film, but Allison Brie. It's nice to see Allison Brie again. It's on Amazon Prime if you're interested. Is it poppin'? Not quite, but if you're looking for a rom-com, maybe this is it. If you're a Community fan, check it out because it's nice to see Annie and Abed together. The football pick for this week, because the big game is today, I decided to watch the original Longest Yard, that of which I regret. This is a very not aged well film. It was made in 1974. It's about a washed-up football has-been played by Burt Reynolds, who runs a football game of prisoners versus guards in an attempt to shorten his prison sentence. This movie may sound familiar because Adam Sandler redid it in 2008 or something like that. I can't remember. I remember it came out on my birthday. I say just watch The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler, which is on Netflix, instead of renting 1974's Longest Yard for $4 on Stars. My Valentine's Day pick of this week was Malcolm and Marie. It is Zendaya and John David Washington playing the titular characters, and they arrive home for a big movie premiere and have a few fights. It is a very great play on film. I love movies that take place in one night, in one setting, and I love marital or relationship like arguments, because the passion, especially if you have good actors portraying it on film, is there and you can see it, and it's fucking invigorating and awesome. But rewatching this movie, I forgot how long the monologues go on, and they have long monologues, like too long monologues, but it's still a really great film. I don't know if it's a great Valentine's Day film, because some things that are said amongst, specifically from John David Washington's Malcolm, is pretty hurtful. But it is a really great film if you want to watch Zendaya just fucking slay it on screen. She's incredible. This was written and directed by Sam Levinson, who is the showrunner and director of Euphoria, which you can also watch on HBO Max. But it was weird when you have a black character have black commentary and it's written by a white guy. It's just strange to me, but I mean, John David Washington agreed to do the film, which means he must believe in what the character was saying. And I don't know what happened behind the screen. Maybe like they helped him shape the dialogue into more of a black perspective as opposed to from a white guy. It's basically the equivalent to me of white people getting angry and making the internet hate a restaurant for being racist instead of like asking what a black person thinks. I don't know. It's just in that aspect, it's a little strange to me, but it is still a great film. I highly recommend it. Malcolm and Marie on Netflix. It is poppin'. I just don't know if it's a Valentine's Day pop. It's more of an argument pop than great acting pop. My Black History pick of this week was really Marshall was the main one, but we're going to talk about Guess Who's Coming to Dinner real quick, which stars Sidney Poitier, Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, and an actress I don't remember what her name is, and I forgot to write it down. But you know, it's the basic. The basic. It is the first time that the story is told of a white girl bringing home a black guy to dinner and what their family would think about it. Now, this movie took place back in the day, so I thought it was going to be more comedic. It is not. It is. There are a lot of funny moments. Don't get me wrong. Katharine Hepburn's really fucking great in this, but it all takes place in one day, and I do recommend watching it. No, I don't. I lied. Don't watch it. It's a little, it's dated. It's strange, but I guess watch it to see. I changed my mind. Watch it to see how it is to try to shape interracial coupling. My issue, if this happened today, wouldn't be any race of anyone that's different from my daughter or son for them to bring home. First of all, I'm every race, so it's kind of difficult for me to be racist against anyone else. But there's the daughter is 23 and Sidney Poitier's character is 37, right? And want to get married, and they met 10 days ago, and they want to get married in the next few weeks. The fastness and age difference is where I would be like, yo, maybe I can't give you like my blessing because of those two aspects. I don't necessarily think that the age difference is a subject I don't really want to get into because it's a little different. I would rather date someone closer to my age. And I'd absolutely rather my daughter or son date someone closer to their age as well. But if you even took that out of the aspect of it, they met 10 days ago. They want to get married in a few weeks. That would make me be like, I don't know. The age thing wouldn't be that big of a problem to me if my spawn was in their 30s or 40s. But she's 23. Granted, you're an adult in your 20s, but you're not really an adult in your 20s. People that are my age know what I'm talking about. I made a lot of dumb decisions in my 20s. Hence me having this instead of being on some sort of television show or movie. But instead, I'm on internet screens. My point is, that aspect, I'd be like, yeah, if I were her parents, I'd be like, whoa, why don't you guys slow down? You met 10 days ago. But it is an interesting film. I think we can do better. This movie has been remade a couple times. Once it was made with Bernie Mac and remade with Bernie Mac and Ashton Kutcher, where they flip the races. Zoe Saldana brings home Ashton Kutcher to Bernie Mac. I can't remember who the mother is in that film, but in either case, you can watch it on Peacock or Prime. I want to rewatch this because that will probably be my favorable choice over Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Even though Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is more of a dramatic way of showing it. When I was younger, I remember really loving Guess Who, but I haven't seen it in years. I'll check it out and I'll let you know, but I won't have that part of the movie club. Guess Who you can watch on Peacock or Prime. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner you can watch on Mubi or rents for $3 or $4. And Get Out, which is basically a horror aspect of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, you can rent for $3 or $4. But I'm sure everyone has seen that. Sidney Poitier, though, if you haven't watched any of his films, it's Black History Month. He was like the first major black star in Hollywood. He was in such famous films like In the Heat of the Night, which you can watch on YouTube for free. You can also watch some of his other movies for free, like Lilies of the Field and The Defiant Ones. A Raisin in the Sun is a classic that you can watch on Peacock, and A Patch of Blue, which has similar storylines like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, you can rent for $3 or $4. All righty, let's scroll down. All right, the main Black History pick was Marshall. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner isn't based on a true story, but definitely based on true events that happen throughout America every day for hundreds of years. But Marshall is about a case where a black man is on trial for raping a white woman. One black NAACP lawyer, Thurgood Marshall, played by the late Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P., and a white lawyer, Josh Gad, fight for the freedom of the innocent Sterling K. Brown. Kate Hudson plays a white woman. Thurgood Marshall would later become the first, in real life, would later become the first Black justice of the Supreme Court from 1967 to 1991. He won 29 of 32 Supreme Court civil rights cases. The most famous case was Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, where they rejected separate but equal doctrine and found segregation in schools unconstitutional. You've heard of Thurgood Marshall, so watch a film about a particular case that he worked back in the day. This movie was directed by Reginald Hudlin, who directed House Party, very different, which you can watch on HBO Max. Ladies Man, which you can watch on Paramount Plus, starring Tim Meadows. And he also did a documentary on Sidney Poitier called Sydney, which you can watch on Apple TV Plus. And he also directed a Netflix documentary called The Black Grandfather. I haven't seen either documentary. The Black Godfather is about Clarence Avant, told by the people he worked with. He is a music executive. That was what my typing was, because I never actually wrote down what that was. In Marshall, which you can rent for $4, Chadwick's really got a cool way about him. He had always been really good at showing like a very calm demeanor and still having a border between characters. So he has a calm demeanor in very high tense situations as T'Challa, but he also has it as Thurgood Marshall. There are two instances that I found good examples for. One, he's waiting for a train and sees white people with a gun, like being like, "Hey boy, how's it going?" And he just lights his cigarettes and like says hi, and moseys onto the train, and they're like, "Huh? Aren't we threatening?" And there's another scene where protesters are yelling in front of a courthouse, and he just walks right past them. And I don't know. Chadwick was such a cool guy. And you can see him be a cool guy again in Marshall, which you can rent for $4. Alrighty. So let's talk about two TV shows that will be talked about the most amongst everyone. You being the first one. You. Season 4, Part 1 was released last week on Thursday. It's about a man infatuated with women in a problematic way. Now, I said spoilers. I won't spoil who the killer is, but this season they decided to go a whodunit route. I didn't like it. I don't think this will be received well as well. It is really cool to have narration. The narration of this series, chef's kiss. It's very, very, very well done. Very funny. I like how it's present, where he's like, "No, I can't do that. I got to do this. Oh, I hate this girl. When will she ever stop talking? Is she ever going to leave the room?" Like, the narration of Joe is there, and it's solid. Great writing still of it. However, everything else, especially in this season, is so cartoonish, and I'm tired of talking about the rich, which every season is usually about. And I don't know. It just didn't work. This season didn't work. He wasn't a stalker for anyone. He was mostly just trying to figure out who's framing him. And there's a serial killer that's framing him and is playing games with him. It's basically like a Hannibal Lecter type of vibe and Sherlock Holmes vibe. And it for me, it did not work. I'm glad that you figure out who the killer is halfway through. But when they were revealed who the killer was, first of all, it wasn't that big of a surprise. And second of all, I just didn't care. There gets a certain point in this part of the season where I just don't care. In the second half of the season, I watched some of the trailer, and it's just continuing the storyline, and I don't dig it. I dig that we're in London now. It's a different place to be. I would still rather of them staying in Paris, which is where they led you to believe that they were going to stay. But I don't like this season. I don't think I'll like the second part of this season. I'm more excited about season 5 whenever they will make that. But I don't like this season. It's Joe taking a vacation along with the writers taking a vacation. So if you're interested, it is on Netflix right now. The first 5 episodes are on there. The next 5 episodes will be released on March 9th on Netflix. Not Poppin. But if you are a fan of the show, I don't want to quit the show. It's not that bad, because I think it will get better again, but I don't like it right now. So it's not popping, but the show in general still pops. The next huge thing that happened this week was the Last of Us episode, which would be released tonight at 9 p.m. because it airs on Sundays at 9 p.m. and streams on HBO Max at the same time. but instead they already released it Friday because of the big game on today. Mono long. I don't know what you're talking about, Kane. Oh yeah, I know. This is a long. I know. I'm going to stop. Anyways, oh, you're talking about Malcolm and Marie. Yeah, a lot of monolonging. Very clever. Very clever. Anyways, I'm sorry. Last of Us. Last of Us had their best episode. One of the best episodes I've ever watched in television. It was like Game of Thrones, besides the last season esque. Like just fucking incredible. Such a great episode. If you played the video game, I think this episode was better than the video game. It was so great, and I won't say spoilers, but let me tell you what the show's about in case you don't know. Post-apocalyptic drama starring the Mandalorian himself, Oberyn Martell, Pedro Pascal, escorting the young Lyanna Mormont, Bella Ramsey, across the country to a rebellion group in an attempt to survive the worldwide virus of fungus zombies and the dangerous survivors along with them. So we're going to talk about 2 episodes because, yeah. Episode 4 is called Please Hold My Hand. Everything is so close to the game. We're introduced to Melanie Linsky's character, and we're in Boston. Melanie Linsky runs the group of hunters, which you meet hunters, but there's never really like a leader that you come face to face with. That's Melanie Linsky. And at first, I didn't like her acting choices until I watched the newest episode, episode 5, Endure and Survive, which is so fucking good. And it gives her reasoning and motivations for doing the things that she wants to do. And it made me love her character, actually. You also fall in love with other characters in the show. I'm not going to get into them, but as I was watching the show, I was like, oh man, I really hope that they don't follow the game to a T. And sadly, they do. And they do it in a heartbreaking way in this episode. It's so damn good. Not only is the swarming scene, like, I was on the edge of my seat, like, whoa, shit, fuck, screaming and shit, watching the show. But it was just, man, it was so good. I was so proud of the show. Very, very good. So just know it's on HBO Max right now, if you didn't know. Next episode will be next Sunday at 9 p.m. I'm very, very excited, and I'm very happy with what the show is bringing us. All right, other things I've watched. Harley Quinn, a very problematic Valentine's Day special. Harley will go out at great lengths to give Poison Ivy the best Valentine's Day ever, even if that puts Gotham at risk for total fornication. This TV special is excellent. I think it's about 45 minutes long. It's not the beginning of season 4. Season 4 is going to come out, they think, later in the fall. The show is very, very funny. I highly recommend watching it, but this special was probably the funniest thing they put out. It's got Bane fucking buildings. My libido knows no bounds. It is so fucking funny. Check it out. It's on HBO Max right now. And then we'll also talk about Velma. It ended their season. I wasn't really caring about the mystery of it all because it's like all kind of like nonsensical and whatnot, but I just want to remind you the show is funny. I laughed out loud a lot. Hopefully the second season will be better if they still do it. I'll be very surprised if they do. I know it got greenlit, but the internet hates it, if in case you didn't know. I will still watch it though. I enjoyed this season, and I think they will do better next season. I'm excited to see what they'll bring to the table. HBO Max right now. Another thing I added to this is South Park. Their new season has begun, and their first episode was one of my favorite episodes. Cupid Ye is hilarious. They go after Kanye, and I hope that they continue the storyline of Kyle running Hollywood in the next episode. Very, very fun. Very, very fun. It's on HBO Max right now. Check it out. Other new episodes I've watched this week are Poker Face, still poppin'. Natasha Lyonne plays Charlie, who is on the run from some dangerous people after her unique bullshit detector gift gets her into trouble, but she uses her gift to solve mysteries, to solve murders along the way. It's a How Ketchum style. This episode was a fun theater storyline with Tim Meadows and Ellen Barkin. You can watch this on Peacock right now. New episodes stream on Thursdays. The newest episode was definitely better than last week's episode. I still enjoy it very much so. Shrinking was great again. Jason Segel plays Jimmy, a recently widowed psychiatrist that's still having trouble mourning the death of his wife. So he decides to say, fuck sugarcoating, and tell patients exactly what he thinks they should do. Also, he has He has trouble reconnecting with his daughter. Harrison Ford plays his boss daddy, and Jessica Williams is his coworker. The show right now, I applaud its great character interactions amongst their ensemble. So it's not just how characters interact with the main character, but how they react with each other, and that is really really cool. They're even the more serious bits of the show are comical, and Harrison Ford is actually great at playing funny. So it's good. It's on Apple TV Plus right now, and new episodes stream on Fridays, along with new episodes of Servant. After suffering a tragedy that the mother can't accept, the father and her brother hire a nanny for a fake doll to help the mother cope, but the nanny conjures a fake baby into a real one. This new episode was great. Again, Dorothy and Sean attempt to take down Leanne in a dinner party. It's fun, it's funny, and we get to see Leanne flex her power again. So she's very scary. I would like to see more of Rupert Grint's character fleshed out, because he's kind of just being a passive drunk. He's always been a side character, except the first couple seasons. He was like a main character, and he's been shoved off to the side a little bit right now, but I know that he'll be back in the forefront soon. Bad Batch's new episodes were great. They aired 2 of them. It's about clone troopers unfazed by Order 66. Episode 207 is called The Clone Conspiracy. It's a bit boring, but we get a return of a fan favorite. In general, the show has great visuals still, like a fucking amazing visuals, especially for an animated series. The episode was a reminder of how boring the show is, and we're watching characters investigate the truth behind the creation of the clones and Order 66 so much, it becomes a bit tiring, and it's a big deal, but I need more than just some people talking about it all the time. I need more of a centralized story of after Order 66. Truth and Consequences is probably the best episode of the season. Has a really great action scene. I love Wrecker. Omega seems to have power. I think she's a Jedi, personally. But there's a return of a supervillain in this episode, which is super cool to see. And, it's the season's focus is on, or maybe the whole show is what happens to the clones after Order 66. So I still recommend it. It's streaming on Disney Plus right now. New episodes stream on Wednesdays. And that's what I watched. The other streams that I want you to be aware of are Aqua Teen Plantasm, which is on HBO Max. It's Aqua Teen Hunger Force's second movie. Very, very funny. Your Place or Mine is on Netflix. I didn't watch this. I'm not going to. It's the rom-com of Netflix's Valentine's Day. It stars Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher as 2 long-distance best friends who change each other's lives when she decides to pursue a lifelong dream and he volunteers to keep an eye on her teenage son. It looks okay, but I'm not very interested. You might be. Doug Days, Carl's Date, is streaming on Disney Plus. They're 5 short films featuring the dog from Pixar's Up. The dog that says squirrel. I haven't watched these. You might be interested. Or if you have kids, they might be interested. Now playing in theaters is Magic Mike's Last Dance, which is Channing Tatum as who meets Salma Hayek's character, and they make a musical. Steven Soderbergh returns to the directing chair. I hear that it's not the best Magic Mike, apparently. I didn't watch any of them. I don't think I'm going to watch this one, even though this one looks the most interesting to me. But, yeah, apparently it's not that great. Hugh Sarah, The Bone Woman, in theaters right now. But I don't know if it's in any theaters around my Detroit friends. But it's about Valeria, who has a long dreamed about becoming a mother. After learning she's pregnant, she expects to feel happy. Something's off. This looks like a very scary film that's done in a very low budget, but in an admirable way. Check out the trailer. Hugh Sarah, Huesera, The Bone Woman. Also that came out is called She Came from the Woods, which looks like it's been released specifically in MJR theaters. Another looks like an independent film. In 1987, a group of counselors accidentally unleash a decades-old evil on the last night of summer camp. Looks like fun horror silliness, like bad good. You know what I'm saying? It looks fun. Also in theaters is a movie called Sharper, about a con artist who takes on Manhattan's billionaires. It stars Julianne Moore, Sebastian Stan, Justice Smith, and John Lithgow. It's in theaters right now, but it'll also be released next week on the 17th on Apple TV Plus. Other coming attractions that I won't be doing a review on, but that you might be interested in. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's a horror take on Winnie the Pooh. It's got Terrifier 2 violence. I haven't watched this, but it sounds pretty fun. They're also making a movie called Bambi the Reckoning. Same concept. It is a violent version of Bambi. And apparently it's going to be a shared universe with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I don't know how they're getting away with doing these Disney characters in a violent way without Disney making money, but I think that this is a very good idea. Winnie is releasing Wednesday in theaters on February 15th. Another movie being released next week is called Marlowe. Philip Marlowe is a fictional character created by Raymond Chandelier in the 1920s. He has been portrayed before in films. He's been portrayed by Humphrey Bogart in The Big Sleep in 1946, James Garner in Marlowe in 1969, Elliot Gould, the most famous, in The Long Goodbye in 1973. That's one I've seen. I haven't seen the rest of these. That's a good film. If you like old Hollywood neo-noir films. Robert Mitchum also portrayed Marlowe in 1975's Farewell, My Lovely and The Big Sleep in 1978. It's a pulpy neo-noir detective story based on Benjamin Black's The Black-Eyed Blonde novel. That's what this new Marlowe is. Liam Neeson's going to take a stab. It is in theaters on Valentine's Day this week, Tuesday. So if you don't know, Valentine's Day is Tuesday. You might want to go, get some flowers for your loved one. This movie looks wild. It's called Remember. It's going to be on Netflix on Valentine's Day as well. It's a Japanese film about 6 high schoolers stuck in a murderous time loop must find the remains of an unknown victim to break the curse and finally see another day. Check out the trailer. It looks wild. I don't know if it doesn't look good, but it looks like a crazy Japanese film on Netflix on Valentine's Day. On Wednesday, The Upshaws season 3 on Netflix. Star Trek Picard season 3 on Paramount Plus. Friday the 17th is the return of Animaniacs season 3 on Hulu. Unlocked on Netflix the 17th. I don't know why I wrote that down, but we're going to close out this episode with the Popcorn Poppin' Movie Fan Club. So what we're going to be focusing on next week is a very smaller list than what we talked about this week. We're in 40 minutes. I'm sorry. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. No one's watching this now, in case you're watching this recording. So what are we going to talk about next week? Well, Black History Month, so we're going to revisit the film Harriet. It stars Cynthia Erivo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, as Harriet Tubman. I hear this movie is good. It looks like a action film starring Harriet Tubman, which is an interesting take on it. Cynthia Erivo, I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, is one of the best actresses in Hollywood. I'm very excited to see her take as Harriet Tubman. I just think the action aspect is going to be like, this is strange, but I'm going to be watching that. That film you can watch on HBO Max. So HBO Max will be talking about that next week, Harriet. The Spotlight film, Ant-Man 3, in theaters this week, February 12th. Time to watch Ant-Man 1, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Endgame maybe, and that last episode of Loki, I think is going to be very important. Also, Apple TV Plus movie on the 17th, Sharper, which I mentioned earlier. The TV show Spotlight, the return of the final season, Wu-Tang: An American Saga, season 3, the final season on Hulu. It is about the rise of the infamous rap group. It is their final season, I believe. And the first 3 episodes are airing Wednesday the 15th on Hulu. Very excited for that. Also, new series, Hello Tomorrow. It follows a group of traveling salesmen hawking lunar timeshares. This show looks really, really good. The first 3 episodes streams on Apple TV Plus on Friday the 17th. We'll be talking about that next week. And also, we will also be talking, I don't think we're going to be talking about this, but I just want to mention that the Nevers will be releasing the rest of their episodes this week on Tubi. It's about Victorian women with extraordinary gifts who fight for each other against those that deny them. That's the best way I could describe it. It was a Joss Whedon show, but you know what happened to Joss Whedon. Yeah. So they got a different showrunner. But the whole series can be watched on Tubi this week. Production shut down because of COVID in the middle of season 1. They resumed production, but HBO Max canceled them when the show was finished. So it's kind of like a Batgirl situation, except Batgirl wasn't picked up to finish by anyone else. Tubi did. Tubi is going to release all of the episodes this week, starting tomorrow through the 15th. It's going to be a live re-airing starting in the afternoon before 5. It's really strange how they're doing it. Hopefully, they're going to be available to stream at any time after releasing this live stream. But it used to be on HBO Max, but HBO Max canceled a bunch of shows, including Westworld, The Time Traveler's Wife, and Raised by Wolves. But they will be streamed on Tubi. So this week, The Nevers. Check out the show. It is very well made. Yeah, it's very good. So the heads up segment will close out our episode officially, because I know I said that earlier. Creed 3 is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, guys. March 3rd, I believe. It is the ninth Rocky franchise film, the third Creed film, obviously. You can watch the Rockies on Netflix and Paramount Plus. Creeds 1 and 2 will be available for renting for $3 or $4. Check out those movies, because maybe I might make a separate movie going over the Rocky franchise. Who knows? Snowfall will be starting their final season on the 22nd, so it's time to catch up if you haven't. Shay, I'm talking to you. You can watch them on Hulu, but it's the 22nd. Oh, it's going to be so FX, it'll air on the 22nd, and it'll be on Hulu the 23rd, but you can watch the whole series right now on Hulu. And I don't know about highly anticipated, because it's been a while, but Party Down, the revival season, is coming out on the 24th on Stars. Watch the show. It's hilarious. I highly recommend them. That's it for this week. I'm very sorry for the long episode. The show will be very, very, very much shorter. I apologize for how long this stream was, but I gave myself way too much. It will be more interesting. I will have a background. I want to have like note cards going over like what each show I'm talking about, in case I'm going on a fucking meandering monologue about what shows are and what they aren't. I also want to give out a disclaimer in the beginning of an episode instead of the end, that you shouldn't criticize movies and television shows, but you should be interested. But there's so many things to watch in the world, it's hard to pick something. So that's why I'm making this series of live streams for you, so I can help you figure out those decisions. Thank you. I will see you next week, Sunday, 7 p.m. Keep popping, poppers. I don't know what my sign-off's going to be, but probably not that.